Welcome back, Crusaders, to another Campman show with your host, Miss Cybulski here. So some new news for this week, especially if you're watching on Monday, is one, we are starting our Campman activities this week. So that means FIA, Bible study, Bro Code, they're all happening. So check your email for information about that. If you didn't get an email about that, stop by, let me know, or shoot me an email telling me that you did it and you want some more information. So check those out. They're really cool, really awesome. Number 2, Father Logue is coming into your theology classes this week so that you can get to know him a little bit better. So he'll probably talk about himself a little bit, but then ask him questions. Maybe don't go for as weird questions as I did in episode 1, but ask him some fun questions about himself. So last episode, we talked about hope and trust and how to attain heaven. And it all goes back to the actions we make. So let's take a second and look at our actions. Me looking back at mine, I realized that a lot of things I do is to try to attain happiness. Kind of like eating 3 pieces of pizza. I'm just trying to be happy, watching like 5 episodes of a TV show to be happy. Eating my sister's Reese's Pieces. I just want to be happy, Pulling out Instagram and scrolling for a hot second that turns into a hot minute, that turns into a hot couple of minutes. I just want to be happy. And sometimes it's good for those actions that we're searching for that happiness. And other times it might not be the best. Like when I take my sister's candy or I eat a lot of pizza. But guess what? We're not alone. And that's a good thing. If we go all the way back to Adam and Eve, and we remember the original sin, them taking the fruit from the tree and eating it. If you think about it, they were looking for happiness. So if Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden weren't totally happy, then how are we going to be happy? God made the Garden of Eden for them, and they weren't completely happy. So what can we do to be happy? Not to be a downer, but literally we can't be happy 24/7. And we're kind of like, hey, that sucks. Why do I even try? Great question. Because although we can't be happy all the time, we can be joyful. What? Okay, that's crazy. So what does it mean to be joyful? And I think a great quote for this is from St. Augustine. And maybe you guys heard of it, maybe you didn't. I remember the first time I heard this quote, I was like, whoa, what? But it's, our hearts are restless until they rest in thee. And that's from St. Augustine. So, and that's saying that, there's a part of us that is always going to be unhappy until we fill that with God. I like to say it's a God-shaped hole. I don't know what a God-shaped hole would look like, but we can't fill it with anything except for God. And that's one of the hard parts is we want to fill that so that we can be whole and complete and joyful, but we try to throw everything. I throw my pizza in there. I throw Instagram in there. Sometimes I throw bad choices in there. Adam and Eve threw it in there, taking from the tree, and eating it. So this quote from St. Augustine actually came from looking at St. Augustine's life. Because St. Augustine, before he was St. Augustine and was just kind of like this dude over here, tried all the things to fill that God-shaped hole. He was very much a party boy. Really liked women in an intimate sense. He was a gambler. He did all the things you can think of were him. And he was trying to fill that hole, and it just got emptier and emptier and emptier. And maybe it filled him for a hot second, and then after it, done. Until he came over here and started working towards St. Augustine, he was able to fill that hole with God. And that's where he found that joy. And that's where he came up with this quote, our hearts are restless until they rest in thee. Because his heart was so restless over here. And then it became resting in him. Now the big question is, how do we fill that God-shaped hole? Because I've tried a lot of things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You guys have probably tried some too. And I think it so much comes down to that relationship with God. That through prayer, through reflecting on your day, spending time with him, asking for his advice, and making God that priority. I know that a lot of times I let things come up instead of like going and praying. I'm like, oh, well, I'll go to this instead. But no, finding God and making him that priority. The first thing you think about when you wake up and the last thing you think about before you go to sleep. And I think another thing to help us fill that God-shaped hole and to build that relationship with God is through friends that are based in God. You know, that your core relationship with each other is God. There's other things too, but that you guys are both striving to help each other get to heaven. So good luck with that. I will be praying for you. Honestly, pray for me to work on this too. Next episode, we're going to be entering the month of October, which is Mama Mary's month. So we'll be talking a lot about Mary and what is our relationship with Mary and why is our relationship with Mary and all that good stuff. But until then, keep up the great work. Keep being you. Have a beautiful week.